Is it not working? It's very sad. Very sad day. Talk to me, Tay. What's going on? Math. Yeah, math can be fun. Can also not be fun.
We're getting back.
What happened?
Technical, I don't know what's... My computer's acting weird.
Okay.
Going back to the phone.
Colors are more fun, I think. So what was the last thing you heard, if you remember?
You were about to reveal like your revelations on the dark and light, some sort of analogies from earlier today, and then you sounded it out.
Okay, so
it's like, and the answer is, and it's like nothing.
I wanted to change the light versus dark analogy from sensing versus intuition to extroversion versus introversion. I feel like daylight or light is more connected to the extroverted perceptions because there's an illuminating quality or like seeing what there is to be seen sort of thing.
Looking out of the doorway as opposed to looking into the house.
Yeah.
Well, I had an interesting thought, like I just kind of related, like I was thinking of words, and then I was like, introverted intuition is looking for, or might be looking for the meaning in something. Like if you're looking at something, you're like, what is the meaning of this? And extroverted intuition is, what could this mean?
Yeah. And then another thing I thought about is I was like, NI versus SI. I was like, what is the metaphysical equivalent to homeostasis? So I feel like SI is concerned with homeostasis.
Why don't you define homeostasis? Because if I don't know that word off the top of my head, I guarantee I'm not the only one.
You guarantee what?
Don't worry about it. Ken?
Oh. Well, I mean,
it's
kind of a stable state of being.
Like equilibrium?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good synonym.
The tendency towards a relatively stable equilibrium between interdependent elements, especially as maintained by physiological processes, which is a more wordy way of saying a sort of survival-driven balance.
I would associate the word homeostasis with it tends to be particularly associated with complex systems.
So it seems like the split between MBTI and socionics for SI is like this difference of description of like SI and MBTI is more like memory as far as like sensory related issues go. In socionics, there's more like survival focus or like comfort or stuff like that. It's like taking in your surroundings as they pertain to you and trying to harmonize yourself, not necessarily in a super peaceful way, but sort of get yourself in tune with the environment. By in tune, I mean...
You could almost think it as, that concept would almost be like including the space in which you're in as part of the system in which you're trying to achieve homeostasis, rather than just self-contained homeostasis or something.
Uh-huh.
possibly.
Possibly.
I don't know.
So it seems like extroversion versus introversion as far as the perceptions go. There's like if you're extroverted, there's like a preference towards, I would say, specificity. Maybe not necessarily in like in a TI sort of way, but it's like as compared to SI, I feel like I don't know. I wanted to say that SI carries more like a vibe connotation to it, but I don't know. Give me some any or any insights on any.
Any.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about SI.
I'm trying to get a better grasp of SI, but
Yeah, well, I was thinking about that SI is definitely self-referential. Like, it doesn't... I think that's what's interesting about SI is that it's very involved with external stuff, but it also is meaningless without that going with kind of inside. That's why it would be an introverted function, I think. So I've had a hard time like figuring out like why is it an introverted function, especially the like comfort, the idea of some of the stuff that goes, because it is also sensory. Like it's weird.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Anyway, I had a thought there that seemed.
Yeah, it's cool that you would say that because I think that illuminates NI a bit better and why it can seem so fucking self-absorbed. Seems like it's inherently concerned with what pertains to it. Like it's trying to maintain something.
Yeah, there's that kind of almost recursive quality that seems like a lot of the introverted functions.
I like how Taylor's taking a break from the knife flipping to like contribute. Yep, there it is. There's a good descriptor words. I like those. Expanding, future oriented. I like any is optimistic and non-judgmental. Well, we finally know what to blame on the T.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about any in comparison to the way I was just thinking about like SI and maybe NI and yeah, it just keeps going. Like it doesn't have to self-reference. Like it can even though the process is obviously contained within self, it is not necessarily concerned with the self at all. Because it can be anchored to something externally observed or kind of floating or outside self, and then it can keep it keeps expanding outside self. It doesn't come back around. It doesn't. Still goes back to a lot of the way that same mathematical kind of thought process that I explained to you that time. Like still seems to come back to that sort of geometry always. NI versus NE, SI versus SE, same sort of geometric dichotomy, or whatever you call it.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I still haven't. Sorry, I'm looking at chat now. I still haven't wrapped my head around NI being future oriented. Like I understand descriptions, but I'm not entirely sure why it's future oriented. Said any is bored or excited. Yeah.
The thing about any is that it's not directional at all. It's just it's like omnidirectionally expansive. I mean,
That's why I use the word presence for it, or present.
it's not.
I might have to be careful with this term, but the term that came to my mind was it's not biased. Taylor may have said that. He said not judgmental. I'd say that connotates to.
Any idea is a good idea, except for the one that's been tried
The
already.
ideas you've already had. Exactly, except for the one that that no longer has possibility because it's been defined.
It's future oriented. It's fast, and there's the only time that you can rule something out is if it's boring, and we've always done it that way. Any hell would be purgatory because you're just fucking sitting there. Yeah.
The least related thing that is still related.
And I at least with me, I don't know which function it is. I assume it's any. I notice if I walk through a building that I've been through 1,000 times, I won't notice anything until there's something out of place. Or, like, if someone's lying to me, it's never, ever, ever. I mean, I'll find things, I'll find lies in people for no other reason than it could be something I would never have thought to look for, but I'll notice a glitch in their behavior. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I like the way you put it there, noticing glitches.
Yeah.
Because they're
Well, I think extroverted intuitives are sort of maybe not by necessity, but just by habit or default attuned to novelty.
I think that any is attuned to novelty, and Neptune. I think that I'm starting to think it's any that notice glitches. And I will understand a person deeply from past experiences and just different things that are distantly related. NE will not have the recognition that I don't recognize or I can't articulate what makes a Neptune a Neptune. But if something's off, I'll pick up that thing instantly. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I was just, like when I take the keys to cognition test, for instance, like they ask a question about like comparing, like present details to like what you're accustomed to or something, and I didn't know if that was like an SE or an SI question. I was trying to figure it out when I was looking at it. But
Well, I think that it's all those things. But I think it's mostly NE, from what I can tell, because INFJs don't seem particularly quick to pick up on disruptions. Like, not to make it sound too self-servingly totally awesome, but the closest connection that I have for how I notice things is like in Jurassic Park. If you don't move, they won't see you, but if you move, they see you. It's like that. It's like something's moved here.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to because I would almost. It sounds like it's like because I've got this idea that for
Audra, you're gone. Audrey, you're gone. Can't hear you.
It's actually an artistic display. She's doing her best representation of a glitch.
Auto-tune. She's doing auto-tune.
She just wanted to be T-Pain.
That's funny that the chat's going on. It's funny that I forget the chat's even there when I stop using it. It's also funny that
because it got boring.
That Neptune, I think, is the one that chirped up and said that he notices when things are out too, because I've seen him chase those down, which is fun to watch. He's like, I think he's the only person I've seen chase a disruption in a pattern in someone else.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
I think it may not be function related and just might be an anxiety thing. So you're always looking for like signals of danger or like change or something that you might have to defend yourself against.
It might be chicken and the egg. You might say that the anxiety is what causes it and makes you look more inny, or maybe it's the inny that makes you more anxious.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I was just going to say that what I was saying was that I was thinking of a concept of like storing patterns, because I don't feel like I noticed the thing that's off. Like it's the glitch in the pattern, and so it's like you remember patterns and you're comparing patterns, especially when you're bored and there's nothing else to be comparing. You know, it's like comparing past stored patterns or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes, and if it matches the pattern, you totally don't notice at all. You're like, oh, this is the pattern. Yep, same thing. But it says.
I mean, my brain will even like create patterns. Like I don't know, this like if you're thinking about like in like the animal kingdom or something, you know, like they probably like are really prone to like seeing faces, you know, in things, and then evading things that look like faces. And like I'll notice like if I stare at something too long, it starts, or like I'll quickly look at something and it kind of looks like a face, and I'm like, I wonder if this is just me like being an animal right now. But
Yeah, I mean
It's not
not
real-
exactly what I meant, but that's not really, because it's not. That's seeing a thing, not a pattern.
Right, that's the thing. But it's the same sort of whatever it is, the feeling or the gut. Whenever something is out of place, it's also like exactly the same thing can be out of place in a person's face. Like when you look at someone, you can look at people and tell this is a bad news person. And that's the same thing that happened when, you know, when the pattern's got a glitch. It's a glitch in a person.
Yeah, and you're not like conscious of seeing it like another thing.
Right.
It's like the pattern is applied, and then the resulting meaning of whatever like unconscious pattern comparison was there. You end up with a meaning, not an actual consciousness of whatever you were comparing or seeing or whatever.
That's why I have a theory that Neptune's hiding a glitch behind a glitch of not getting on camera.
No, I think it's really not that serious or deep, but you're gonna think what you want anyway. So
You don't have to answer it. Actually, nobody picked up the slack. Someone else was supposed to pick up that air ball and be like, "Oh, Elliot."
I do not get into peer
The
pressure.
rest of you fuckers let me down. ENTP, Audra, and Pepsi.
Was I supposed to be paying attention to something?
No, I should have known better. Shut the fuck up.
For the record, I was paying attention just only to things I cared about.
Ken, I don't throw you air balls because you can't catch them if you know someone's throwing that. You can freak out.
Yeah, you ever seen those videos of like people throwing food at dogs and it just hits their snout and bounces off? Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, no, you're like the kid who can't hit a car with a baseball bat, but then could go in the garage and throw a tennis ball back and knock it around all day. If no one's watching, it doesn't matter.
So it's like I would admit to like batting an air ball away had I noticed it was there, but yeah, I was zoning out. More often than reason, I think.
I'd just like to acknowledge the existential dread that I get from Taylor's statement because it is very depressing. He's like,
Yeah, but it's all in your
like,
fucking head. So here's the optimistic side of it. It's all in your fucking head. So stop being a bitch and go throw the tennis ball around outside. Boom. Stuck on my nuts.
oh,
That was just for fun.
uh-huh.
Because Annie likes novelty.
I do not begrudge you for adding flair.
Katie says not to suck on them. They're too big. Any orientation.
I figured it'd be like trying to suck on a moldy tangerine.
It's not like that, is it?
No, I'm only candy.
Yeah, that sounds gross.
No, it's nasty.
So NE novelty is like, ooh, this is cool. It's a ball bearing. I want to play with it. And NI is like, but neither of those components of them. Novelty is not very time oriented. It's just new. I don't think they're on the same axis.
I have kind of realized why I haven't tapped into NI as much as I could in terms of like a creative sense, because as I've started to do it more, I realized, oh, yeah, it's kind of creepy. It's kind of weird. Like, I feel like it's more of an NI thing for me to imagine somebody with a toaster as a head and they keep sticking their fingers into it and burning themselves. Like, that's symbology. It's personal to me.
Because
it's weird.
NE does not care what has happened and is not checking with the past and actually really dislikes standards, structures, repetition, doesn't like it at all. Wants to be exploring, creating, and generally playing. It's outward, it's new, and if it's old, it's probably boring. NI uses information that's been experienced or figured out and sort of build a bigger system of understanding refinement. But
Yeah, I just had this thought. Like, go ahead.
it's like NE is more like a grenade. You set it there and it pops and expands and creates more little things. And NI is more like a magnet that you set on the table and just pulls all the screws and nails to it.
I like that.
That's a good one. Yeah. Similar.
I really wanted you to finish that. That's why I didn't interject the holy hand grenade.
Our totem is the hand grenade.
Jesus Christ! It's just taking people's heads off.
Yeah. One creates, the other is insightful. NE is not very insightful. NE is doesn't have time for that shit. Squirrel.
Well, I feel like as far as the creation things go, a good part of creation is destruction.
Yes, it also likes destruction.
Destruction is great.
That was actually on one of Basement Overlord's videos. He did ENTP versus ESTP, and Mega Bro made that comment about how part of the creative process for NE and SE is destruction.
Right, because the environment, because what you have to destroy is what has been done and established.
Uh-huh.
And so the more shit you get rid of, the more of a vacuum you have to pull stuff in. Whereas if it's saturated, it's saturated. Which is why all the shit in this house, I've been like taking out some trash can and dumping it. Like all that shit in the basement and stuff.
So I kind of feel like SI and NI pull things. You know, like you said with the magnet stuff, that NE and SE can then knock over like a wet sandcastle.
I think that in relationships, NE users are more likely to like something that they don't have to worry about where it's going to go. You know, like they know that they can predict what it's going to do. But NI seems to be like more likely to be attracted to someone who they can't predict what they're going to do or like the trajectory of the relationship. You know,
I think that would be right. Because NE is going, and it seems to be pulling people along with it. As an NE Dom, it pulls me the fuck with it. All the other 7 functions go with it. NI seems like it doesn't have much momentum, so it would prefer to be pulled by something.
Yeah, that's a better way to put it, actually. It makes more sense that way.
I'm not sure exactly what it would be, but I think there would be a difference considering that the sensing and intuition rules would be flipped in those cases.
Who's
Like
the Frankie? Is that light bulb? Who's Yellow Blanky? It's so chatty. Who are you? Are you New Blanky? Are you Helpful Blanky? Is light checked out? Hi, welcome. You're well, I got to read and figure out what you are to finish that sentence. Steve,
You're a helpful chatty Cathy.
You're a son of a gun.
Yeah, hello, Blanket.
Do you think that NI is future oriented? I've always felt like it is future oriented, but in drawing from past information. Or it's not going to create new shit out of a. I mean, how the fuck do I explain this?
What are you talking about?
NE versus NI. NI uses experience, or NE is completely unchained. It is predictive. It is predictive because it's got a trend analysis basically running. There's like a running trend analysis of the world and people and of any different way you want to parse people or society or system. And then it is future oriented in that it carries the momentum of the trend forward, no matter how dispersed the different trends are that it may fall into one. NE doesn't look at trends, just looks at, well, we could fucking light it on fire and throw it at Katie's mom.
That's what I was like, NE is just about like possible connections, and maybe NI. It's almost building the idea of it's almost putting things together purposefully. Like it's almost building new connections or something. Not necessarily new, but there's a likelihood. I think there's a likelihood factor involved. I don't know. Makes more sense in my head.
To go back
Words are not really-
to go back to what we were talking about earlier today, Audra, with you talking about like NE's sort of like trying to see what God sees, that sort of thing. I feel like NE's trying to build a model to present, be like, this is what God sees. Like, and I know when I say build a model, maybe that confuses things a bit, but I feel like NI is more like if it's building anything, it's building its representation of God.
Yeah, NE has this idea that eventually it will see all the connections between everything.
Yep.
Therefore, we'll like have the ultimate.
NE is looking for 42. If the meaning of life is 42, there's got to be some way to connect my map gas to Neptune's teeth to Ken's emo-ness. And then, poof, when we connect everything together and pull the string, I don't know what happens then, but it'll be fucking awesome.
Exactly.
There'll be fireworks and guitar solos and revelations and novelty.
All that shit.
Definitely things on fire. Yeah.
You guys are talking about my subject.
I feel like pyrotechnics is just proper celebration for any.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
We like explosions and fire.
Closet.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
Let's go throw them at your mom.
Can we not throw stuff in the trailer park?
What the fuck?
I don't know. That would have been funny.
It would. The evolution of time.
Oh, that sounds funny.
That sounds vague.
Welcome to NI Land.
No, okay, that's correct. I don't think that NE is concerned with time at all.
Yeah, it isn't.
NE hates time. We lose track of time because we don't do linear shit. We're doing
Yeah.
There's no
I was gonna say that NE is present without being linear.
Right. And whatever time we have to be there, we'll be late. because we know what time we have to leave the house, but we could probably leave a little bit later than that if we catch good traffic, all green lights, the wind's blowing in the right direction, the right songs on the radio. We'll get there perfectly on time. Or if they're not, then we'll just be barely late enough to irritate people, but not actually get in any trouble.
How much time do you have to do
For any, it doesn't matter when you show up. Every hour is happy hour.
Like, we got there and we went like once, straight over.
I give it like a 2 hour.
Yeah, when we went to visit her dad over Easter, that was how long was the drive? Hour and a half? 2 hour drive, and she gave us a 2 hour lead time, like that morning, to get up and get ready out the door. And we got there like 5 minutes before we had to start walking.
We should have had. I mean, that 1 hour of cooking, I knew was going to be gone, but the whole other hour, I didn't expect it to be completely gone. I expected to be able to get to my dad's and unpack and then go to the Easter egg hunt. No, we were at the Easter egg hunt and it was all. They used to make it to shit on time all the time.
Yeah, on time is definitely not an important thing.
We fucking hate on time because if we're on time, then we're there for all the shit where you shake hands and people go, "Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Well, let's sit down."
I know
Here.
there's a perfect amount of later than you were expected to show up. Yeah.
But depending on how much you hate it, you can actually be even later than that. And then the later you are, the less time you get off the front end. So the less miserable you have to be. So it's actually kind of a win-win. So you're just skipping that motherfucker.
It is a win-win. That's the problem.
And
that's what. Yeah.
whoever in your family was having the birthday, though, is pissed off.
Why would they be pissed off when you show up? The party arrived.
Because you said, "Yeah, I'll be there at what time to start at 3?" And then it's like 6:30. You're like, "Hey, shit, I didn't have time to get a present."
Well, there's your problem. You're capitulating to feelings. Not necessarily your own, but other people's.
What's capitulating? Ken, I've got a great fucking vocabulary. You're making words up.
Giving into.
Or you're using them out of context.
It's a real word, Taylor. Capitulating. It's kind of like giving into.
Well, he used it out of context, though, because I can't capitulate someone's feelings.
Yes, you can. You're capitulating to their feelings.
I can capitulate.
Capitulating too.
You left a word out of it. Your context is fucked off.
I think he did use the proper dative. I think he did use the proper dative, like participle or tiny word or whatever there. But anyway.
I frequently
notice
use
it was
things in the right context. However, 90% of the time, I can't explain to you why I use something in the right context.
Ken, I am of German descent, and I got a 36 out of 36 on the English section of the ACT. I will go full on grammar Nazi on your ass if I have to, because I was bred for it.
That sounds like a really good way for me to tune out.
I feel like Annie really does like vocabulary.
I like the sound of certain words. And people are like, that's not the right, definition. And I'm like, quit ruining my life.
I just know how to use words, and I know what they mean, but I often cannot tell someone what they mean.
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, no, it means that. It means what it is. It is what it means. I've already been through this. I didn't remember the definition because I don't need it anymore.
But in the context of the sentence, those fuckers should be able to get it. So.
Right. You're like, this is exactly the right word. Don't ask me to define it. If you don't know it, then you go find a dictionary.
Pepsi. Okay, I've been avoiding asking something that I don't care about for a long ass time, but since I'm not gonna get away from it, I don't think because you're not burning over it. Who is your little senpai or sushi roll or whatever the fuck you keep going on about on Facebook and here and stuff? You got a girlfriend or something? Does she know that she's your unofficial girlfriend?
So I'm guessing that
I
when you're
don't
in
believe you. I think you're lying.
I'm guessing that when you're an intuitive, whatever your jacking hand is, it switches to a sensor form. Is that it? Is that what she's in ESTP?
Yeah. Pepsi, have you touched her boobs? Does she know that you touch her boobs? Is she going to be awake?
I was just about to make a comment on consciousness.
And consenting? Did you find her on the internet?
Okay, well, you got to be careful there, Pepsi, because when she
Does
says
she
she
live
wants
in
to fuck
Russia?
you,
What size are they?
Is her name Svetlana?
Is that new Blanky? I like this new Blanky. He's helpful in the chat, and then when something needs to be said, like how fucking big are her boobs, Pepsi? He's there on point too with the mic.
I'm not a blankie. My photo
Yeah,
should be
that's-
showing up.
That's Rain.
Oh,
be-
okay. I was thinking. Well,
You're amalgamating people into.
I'm reading the chat. Okay, so Blanky is being useful too, though. Okay, well, we're both right then. How big is her fucking boobs, Pepsi?
That means he doesn't know.
Are they B's, C's? Are they like a handful? Are they like an apple or a watermelon?
They're probably like B minuses.
B minuses? That's like an A plus. That's kind of good. Shape, oversized, my man.
Perkies.
What you don't want is you don't want something that she can trip over like a shoelace.
I almost fell in the foot.
What the fuck? How? Why are you wearing that hat? Where the fuck did that come from?
I got it at the store. I was gonna buy it half price, but she is a
So you stole it
No, she gave it to me.
out of her inventory?
I guess. No, we're getting rid of all that crap at the store.
Why?
Because it's in our fucking way, nobody buys it.
Hmm.
$20 for the minute. No one buys it.
Neptune, that's gross. I like it when boobs rest on a girl's gut. Makes me think I'm straight. Find a roll and fuck it.
What the fuck?
Roll her up in flour and aim it for the wet spot. Well, I gotta go run an errand real quick, but I'll be back. But like, is there any extroverts here? Audra, you want to carry the team? Pep, you're kind of, you're in love, so you're fucked off.
I'm still here.
I switched sides today. I'm ENTP, so I'll keep the
Right
noise
on.
going in your stead, Taylor.
All right, good, because there's a lot of circles and a lot of quiet circles here.
That's true.
Yeah. I'll whip them into shape. I'll instigate them.
All right. Well, I'm going. I'll be back, but I'll leave you with this memory of my crotch. Suck it.
Are you a bunch of shy little introverts? Turn on your mics.
No.
I'm talking to you, Nip.
Brian, if I have to listen to you talk for too long, I'm just going to get more introverted.
Tell me about your new squishiness, Neptune.
Should I use my INFP voice?
Yeah, the voice gave you away.
Hello. Hello.
Hello. What kind of coffee do you want? In a cup.
No, I took the keys to cognition test, Tim, and I had tested on a couple other tests in my life as INFP, but usually I test INTP. But the function use for me was so like both FE and TE were unused. So that's INFP and INTP's inferior functions. Both unused, you know. And then FI and TI were really close, but FI won. And I don't know. I just feel like I relate on a deeper level to INFPs. Like when I hear INTPs describing themselves, like I don't really like I get some of it, but mostly just the things that are universally human. But when I hear INFPs talk, I'm like, actually, that I relate to that quite a bit. I don't know.
Totally. And you just used the words I feel in a sentence, which indicates you're probably not INTP, because we would say I think.
Yeah, that's kind of horseshit because I said
Let's see.
both.
Nobody was talking. I was playing quiet, and somebody asked me a question, so I turned on the mic, but I wanted to finish my riff. Not apologizing.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've used both, but I would probably, if I was trying to type someone, I would totally use that as a method of doing so, by paying attention to what words they use.
Word.
You sound good on guitar, Audra.
I just needed something to fiddle with.
Yeah,
and it was
NFs in
nearby.
general. Like if I'm really trying to get to like the core of something that I'm trying to figure out, like I relate to the NT's language obviously because that's what they're best at. But in general, talking about like the human condition, I prefer to listen to NFs. Do you relate to that, Tim, in any way?
Yeah, I guess it depends on the context of what you're thinking about. There you go again, thinking about the context of what your brain is dealing with. Yes. Hi, Carolyn. Does Carolyn have a microphone?
Yeah, and she has a webcam, but she never gets on either. Like only like
Please,
once a month.
Carolyn, please.
Pretty
Will you
please.
talk to me tonight? Just once? I'll give you cheese.
She's never been on Just Mike before.
There's a first time for
Yes, she
everything.
has. She's been on Just Mike before.
Has she?
Yeah.
Like once or twice?
I'd say in like the 10 months I've been here, like 4 or 5 times.
Whoa.
A lot of times.
That is a lot.
I mean, that's out of what I've witnessed.
Yeah, I guess I just wasn't in the room when she was doing that.
All right, I guess you have a legitimate excuse.
There's something about legitimate and excuse being used together that I'm like, that's just not fucking necessary.
It sounds
Excuses don't have to be legitimate. They just have to be good.
It sounds legitimate. I think it's still an excuse, though.
I don't like the word excuse.
I get this weird thing when people say "I'm sorry," where I'm
You don't-
like,
You don't like that?
it's like it's just sentiment.
Like, so you care more about like the way they're saying it, kind of?
No,
Like, what if there was a context where it was like actually where it actually applied, you know, and they didn't say it in that dead way that people say "I'm sorry" very often.
I mean, if somebody were to convey it like emotionally or something like that, I'd be valuing the emotion, not the words "I'm sorry."
Yeah.
Normally, for me, I prefer a demonstration of changed behavior rather than the sort of ritual of saying "I'm sorry."
Yeah,
Which
I
I
don't like
understand.
fake saying sorry. I've tried to. I've
I mean,
actually started
doesn't that
doing
kind of come with the package though? They're like, I'm
like,
sorry, like I realize the consequences of this and my behavior will change. Like it's like a package. Like
I guess I have trouble understanding it because I find that there's rare instances where I'm sorry. I guess it's like I don't know. There's something about sorry that I have issue with. I feel like I'm sort of like one thing or the other, but sorry is like a weird limbo state. I feel like.
do you think it's appropriate like if someone like lost like a loved one and then you say I'm sorry, or do you
Well,
prefer to say it another
I
way?
mean, I've said that before, and I also think it's stupid because I don't have anything to be sorry about. I didn't do
Yeah, I
anything.
agree. That's what the word condolences is for.
My condolences.
Well, yeah.
I wouldn't say that though, because they'd be weirded out further. But also saying I'm sorry at that, I feel. I guess to me, I've felt like I don't do enough in life, or I don't contribute enough. That's just sort of how I felt during my teenage years. I wanted to have more power in the sense that I wanted to be able to take care of people more, and I felt like for at least some period of time, all I really had was the words "I'm sorry," and it amounted to jack shit. So rather than continuing to say I'm sorry, I'd rather just be able to change something. I'd rather be able to be act as a force rather than being sentimental. And it's not that sentiment is bad, it's like empty sentiment, I feel like.
I was just
Well,
reading
it's
the chat and like
to the point of like
helping me
almost
do
design.
giggle a little bit because, well, in relation to what you said, like if you didn't do anything, but like let's say someone you love died or something, and you didn't know how they died or anything, you just knew that they died, and the details were yet to be uncovered, and then someone said they're sorry, and then you took it literally, and you're like, why did you do that? Like you
What
thought that
did you
they
do?
killed your
No,
love.
I would never take it as that. Like before.
No, I know. It was just like
Okay. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's just really fair. That's cool.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jen. It's like that empty sentiment. I just remember, like growing up, it's like, oh, say you're sorry, and so I did, but I didn't mean it. I was just like, well, if you say you're sorry, you're done with it. Like, situation over.
I mean, a part of me does feel like people are rolling their eyes in their head when they lose someone and you don't know them and they mention it and you're like, I'm so sorry. And like that voice, like in their head, they're like, you don't know me, you don't care, whatever.
Yeah,
I go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to human affection, words are fairly cheap. It's like if you're attempting to convey something by saying I'm sorry, you can do that through emotion. You don't even necessarily have to utilize the words.
I think that some people actually probably do are expecting to hear something like that, and therefore like it when they like some people.
And also, like when you think about what follows, usually,
genuinely trying
it usually
to
forces the person to dismiss their pain in some way. It'll be like, oh, it's okay, it was a long time ago. When like really, that's not how they feel about it. Like once you get into the realm of automated responses, like it sort of turns into that game of like, using templates to respond.
Audra, can you finish what you're saying?
Oh, I'm sorry, I had Audra muted because of guitar. Whoops.
You just said I'm sorry.
I played
You
like
just said
guitar
I'm
for like
sorry.
30 seconds, and you guys muted me. Seriously?
Now, Audra, don't get upset.
I'm not upset. It's just like randomness. Like,
That's
you
it.
played
Okay,
like talking to me.
anytime, and
I'm
again,
gonna
this is
complain. You need
this
better
is
excuses.
my
people.
own, like this is only like my personal quirks. First of all, with the sorry thing, I don't want to make it seem like I'm advocating that the way I see things is how people need to see things. It's totally personal to me. It is how I react to it. Also, another thing that I react to is whenever people are like, "I'm not mad." There are like two specific ways that people primarily react when they say I'm not mad. Most of the time it is with escalated like energy that they sort of it's just sort of I don't even know what the fucking word would be, but it's like they express that I'm not mad, and it's like something
Yeah, I
about
know
it
what you're
always makes me feel like you're certainly invested because you're increasing energy.
Their verbal and nonverbal communication
Totally
are
fascinating.
incongruent.
And again, it's like a personal quirk. So it's like it's not that you're even necessarily mad, but it's like somebody does that. They're like, "I'm not mad," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm interested now because this seems like it's fun to push." But anyways, Audrey, you were trying to convey a point, and I would like you to finish that if you can.
I don't remember. I mostly just saying, yeah, I agree with you. I don't remember what I was gonna say, but then I had another thing I say. I was just saying, like, I've almost gotten to the point where I say I'm not sorry more than I do I'm sorry, because that's actually because it's more truthful.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Because I used to say it a lot, and that is like the training, and I've actually like tried to take away from it. And it's like, no, not gonna say that. What does that even mean? Like, I always catch myself. I'm like, am I actually sorry? And I'm like, nope, I'm not. Okay, that's it.
I'd rather like trick people into engaging their TI by like if they were to be say something like that, and I'd just be like, I mean, if they were to say something, and my response would be, yeah, I'm not sorry. If they were to respond to me and be like, you're a dick, my response would be, are you sure? To which they would probably respond something like, yeah, you're a fucking dick. And then I would ask them, please explain. Like, how are you sure that I'm a dick? Can you explain that to me? Because I would like to understand. At which point, either they can try to utilize, feeling and sentiment as a logical, construct, or they can engage with a logical construct. And then it's sort of, I don't know. It's like when somebody has to put something in like argument form, like they're arguing a point, it becomes very clear, like what the priority is in terms of feeling or thought.
Yeah, no, that's always good. I also enjoy doing the I'm not sorry thing because it is kind of poking people, and it's always interesting to see what kind of shakes out. But normally, if someone calls me an asshole or something, I'm probably more likely to just like laugh and be all like, yeah, thanks or something. Instead of get offended, because it's like that freaks people out too. They're like, why are you not offended that I insulted you? I'm like, huh?
Well, yeah, I kind of feel like with the TI-FE axis anyway, it's like maybe not even the axis, but it's like sometimes by pushing TI factors, you can actually get somebody to sort of unveil, or you can sort of uncover deeper emotions, so that when they get emotional, it's not just like that, sort of top level miffed where they're just like, well, I don't think you should talk like that. And then if you're like, why do you think I shouldn't talk like that? And they start trying to explain it. You'd be like, well, why would you feel that way? They might go on to like try to defend themselves. And then, you can make a comment like, well, if you wanted to feel a particular way, that's not necessarily bad. As a human being, you're completely free to have whatever feelings you have, and then you can push it deeper, and so sometimes you get interesting, authentic reactions out of people, which I think is good. It's certainly more leaky that way, but it's good.
Yeah, no, it's always fun. Whether a person would appreciate that line of questioning.
It kind of looks like Pepsi tried to snort the Pillsbury Doughboy.
Do you think people necessarily need a reason to not like people? Like, do you always have a reason every time for not liking someone? Because sometimes it can just be like vibes or something like that. You know, I can think someone's a dick without them having done anything that's dickish.
I think I honestly don't care whether they like them or not, but probing their thought process is frequently amusing and interesting.
75%.
See, yeah, it's not like you're trying to convince them otherwise. You're just kind of.
No, I'm just saying in general. This was kind of like related in general to like people thinking people are off.
Like 75% of the time, I am not by default. I don't by default, not like people. But 75% of the time, I am prepared to not like someone. So that if they do something I don't like, I'm like, oh, well, there you go.
How little does that thing have to be? Like, have you ever just gotten vibes off of people that like you don't have any real tangible evidence for why you don't like them, but it's just like, I don't like them. They seem evil to me.
No, it's never. It's rarely ever like an evil thing for me. It's just like they make me personally uncomfortable, not in like an evil way, just like being around them isn't an enjoyable experience for me. So it's like the unfortunate aspect of that is that I could be around somebody who's really not that great of a person, but as long as they don't piss me off too much, I'll roll with it.
I was gonna say I might pick up. I might like meet somebody and be like, I'm not gonna like this person. I'm not gonna get along with them. They're gonna tick me off at some point or something. But yeah, it's not like this person is evil thing.
Typically for me,
I think I approach people like with a super neutral approach. Actually, it's like no expectations, almost at all, and assuming the possibility for entertainment or whatever.
People might call me crazy, but when I'm talking to people, like at first, like the first thing I'm doing is like screening them for like a good and evil ratio, and it's like I'll hear things. It's like, oh, evil, like that facial expression, evil. They responded this way, evil. That's kind of weird, but
what was my screening results?
Well, considering that I am still a Ken fan, you didn't rank very high on the evil.
Okay. I am interested in stuff like that, like what vibes people get of me, because it's like I don't think I've really had that many people like just like freak out around me per se, but yeah, it's just
and it's not like if someone's being real and also kind of like mean, that doesn't even necessarily give me evil vibes, like that can be actually good vibes.
Yeah.
So it's not like that kind of thing. Like it's not like an FE thing. It's actually a vibe thing.
Yeah, that's interesting because I just related back to like the theory, whoever's theory it is, Taylor's. It's like ATP is like we have a lot of like the collection of sketchy friends because they're not very good at. We don't really screen people. I obviously haven't done as much as Taylor, but yeah, I had like situations where it's like later you're like, I see that there might have been some like I could have worked harder to leave that situation or group of people instead of sitting and watching it go down or hanging out with them just because you're like oops. You're like, it didn't occur to me that it was going to be a problem.
What's kind of funny is it's like I almost get offended in a way because it's like chronically people are like, no, I like you, Ken. You seem like a good guy. And I'm like, what the fuck do I have to do to you people for you not to like me? It's like I'm almost offended. It's like, really?